Check out my bean plants. They're turning yellow. And the suspicion was that we had root knot nematode over here as well. And I've pulled a couple of roots and have verified that's what's going on. That's an ugly root. It's so sad. Looks like a chicken foot. And now for the bush beans. These are turning yellow as well. And previously we pulled a couple up and found nematode damage with those as well. So, see, this one was pulled up. And now that it's dried out a little bit, I think you can maybe see the knots a little clearer. So I am just going to pull all of these plants. They're loaded with beans, and then take them to the shade, harvest the beans off of them, and then get rid of the plants, probably in the fire pit, because this is something that you do not want to put in your compost, because it'll just infect your compost with the root knot nematode, and then you'll just put it on your garden and reinfect your garden. See this little plant here? It's doing its best, trying to produce, but look at these. Come on, focus. Much more vivid example of what these nematodes do and how damaging they can be. Here at my garlic, I'm gonna go ahead and pull them. I picked one here and it looks like it probably didn't fully develop, but it's splitting. And I'm pulling them because the leaves look so terrible, even though they've had, I believe, plenty of nitrogen. They look sad. But technically they should be in the ground, as far as I can figure, another month at least. They take 6 to 8 months to develop. But I'm gonna go ahead and see what these reveal. See what this says. Hopefully I don't pierce any. I'm trying not to. That's not, I mean, it's not horrible. I just feel like the neck, or it should be wider, like a more of a circle. Maybe not. Maybe this is okay. At least it developed this from one single clove, so that can't be 100% loss, right? I have to say though that I'm super stoked about all of this garlic. It's my first time growing it. Believe it or not, I just got a sack of garlic from Publix supermarket in the produce section. Any store will do. Typically the ones that are in the supermarkets, at least down here in the south, are going to be the soft neck variety, which is what you need down in the south. Otherwise you'll need hard neck garlic. But this is pretty impressive, I think. This one's my largest bulb, and I'm gonna get these cured and see how they do. Hey, it's nothing to sneeze at, is it? You know, as we're dealing with these root knot nematodes and other issues, low pH levels in the soil and all those complications, it's easy to feel discouraged and defeated and like, what is the use? It's easier to go down to the store and just pick up what you need. And that's true. But when you're trying to perfect this in order to do market gardening, it can be very frustrating, and because you feel like you're growing for more than one purpose, more than just feeding your own family, you have a desire to reach the community as well, and also to make a profit. And what I told my husband the other night was that, you know, I think what will help, especially in the wake of all of these issues, is that I want to garden for fun, and I want to do some experimenting and learning, because we're still in the learning phase. This is still new to us. We're only a couple years into growing annual vegetable gardens, and we're not familiar with everything that could go wrong, although we're learning quickly. But the pressure on top of that to produce something that I can sell to someone else is pretty daunting. It feels more like something we have to do rather than something that we want to do and something that we enjoy doing. And so for me, my focus is going to be learning to grow food, primarily for my family, learning to deal with the increase, learning to preserve, learning to freeze, learning to can, and all of those wonderful things and skills. And as we get good at that, then I can venture out into reaching the community, because then I'll have the confidence to know that whatever we grow will actually produce a yield that is plentiful, consistent, healthy, beautiful, and without disease, and very nutritious and nutrient dense for those who we may give it to, or those who may purchase from us. And I think that's going to take a lot of strain off of me, at least. I think it will off my husband too. I mean, obviously we're still trying to get to the place where we can get reliable food source. So for me, there's been a shift in purpose, a shift in pressure to feel like I have to meet expectations, but not knowing if my skills are reliable enough for those expectations to be there. So just slowing down a little bit, because you got to learn before you can. I'll say you got to learn to crawl and walk before you can learn to run, and that's what I'm realizing about growing food, because growing food is if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. And I know that it's becoming more of a popular thing to do, especially with recent developments and people wanting to have food security, healthy food, less reliance on society and the system, and more reliance on what they themselves can produce. And of course, that's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a needful thing. But you're going to go through a lot of, learning curves before you get to where you want to be. And then you're going to still learn. You're going to still keep learning. We've been extremely blessed with all of the groceries we've been able to grow and preserve, and we're still enjoying them. I have a lot of stuff in the freezer from last season even. But I want to keep the fun in it, and the wonder, and the creativity, and not just nose to the grindstone kind of thing. And that's a personal goal for me. It's a personal necessity for me, because I definitely don't want to get burnt out on this, and I don't want to put that pressure on myself. to perform and to produce. And if I give myself time to learn, then I can be creative along the way. And maybe even experiment on varieties that you can't get at the store, that are different, that are colorful, that are maybe even more flavorful. So far we have ripped out our tomatoes, which should have been able to continue through the spring. We have ripped out our cucumbers, which should have continued for a while. We had to take up our newer tomatoes that popped up in the seed tray that we were gonna start seed in, but lo and behold, the soil was out of our compost bin, and so all of the tomatoes that we needed volunteered. Didn't have to plant more or seed more. Had to pull up all of those. Our squash and zucchini ultimately were bitten by this nematode issue. And it just seems like we've had to rip up most of our garden, although we still have our corn going. We still have some of our pole beans. I left part of those up over there because it looked like they were doing okay. Who knows? Hate to see all these baby beans just going. Hopefully the nematodes don't bother the okra. We have our sweet potatoes planted on the other side, hoping for a great harvest. I don't know if nematodes bother sweet potatoes or not. I hope not. But potatoes are a root crop, so they may. We were hoping for a really nice full garden this spring, and though we planted it to be so, and it started to be, not everything came up as it should have, and then we had to take a lot of stuff out early. So it just was like, well, what was that for? But I'm glad we learned about this nematode stuff now rather than later. We've got some sun hemp planted and Nemagon marigolds planted to help us fight in this war. It's a big learning curve. But even though I'm just thankful that all of these plants, they try to thrive either way. These things have produced so many green beans, even with their issues. It hasn't affected the taste. And so I'm thankful for the resilience of these plants.